So a few days ago, Sony announced the PS1 Classic, a palm-sized system full of 20 classic PlayStation 1 games launching this December, because Sony haven't borrowed enough ideas from Nintendo already. Now, but in all seriousness, this is pretty cool. I never owned a PS1 myself, but I've got memories of playing Tony Hawk or Crash Team Racing at friends' houses when I was a wee baby Zeltic. So immediately after this news dropped, everyone immediately posed the question: will we get an N64 Classic to counter the PS1, and have some old school console wars this Christmas? Well, it's not just wild speculation, because a European buyer's trademark was applied for last year by Nintendo and was finally approved a couple days ago. How do we know it's for the N64 Classic? This is the logo that has just been trademarked, which is in line with the minimalist logos for the NES and SNES Minis, both of which are represented by a line drawing of their respective controllers. So Nintendo's definitely going ahead with the N64 Mini, like that surprised anyone. As long as they, actually make enough of them this time, I can see this being a real moneymaker for them. The N64 is such a fondly remembered system full of fan favourite games like Banjo-Kazooie, Super Mario 64, and of course, Ocarina of Time. I don't need to explain Ocarina of Time to you. If you're watching this video, you know everything there is to know about it. Oh, it's good. But I've been wondering, if Nintendo made and released an N64 Mini, could we see the unreleased Ocarina of Time expansion, Ura Zelda, appear on the system? During Ocarina of Time's development, the N64 DD was also in development, which was a peripheral for the system, allowing the use of discs for larger and more ambitious games. So instead of delaying Ocarina of Time to release with the 64DD, 2 Ocarina of Time expansions were planned for the peripheral. These games were Zelda Gaiden, with a new overworld and story, and Ura Zelda, which was a different version of Ocarina of Time with new dungeons and enemies. The peripheral was a commercial failure, however, so it didn't launch anywhere outside of Japan. Zelda Gaiden became Majora's Mask, but Ura Zelda never released, despite either being very close to finishing production or having actually been completed for a while. The expansion would have worked by putting the original Ocarina of Time cartridge in your Nintendo 64, realising it doesn't work, taking it out and blowing into it, putting it back in, and then popping in the Ura Zelda disc into the Nintendo 64 disk drive. This would change the game. You can actually edit an Ocarina of Time ROM into thinking the Ura Zelda disc is loaded, which will add the word disc to the title screen, or you can change save files into disk save files, which can't be loaded obviously as the game just crashes. Ura Zelda is a near mythical expansion by this point. We don't have a definitive list of what could have been part of the expansion, we only know that it was in development. I can't think of a bigger source of Ocarina of Time rumours than Ura Zelda. Things like the Triforce being obtainable in it, the Running Man being beatable in it, sky and wind temples, masks having abilities and more are all things that fans believe were included, but personally I think are just exaggerations. What we do know is that Ura Zelda would have essentially been a fleshed out second quest for the game. Some more difficult extra dungeons and features, new items and better NPCs. Things like being able to ride Epona as Child Link, and a far bigger overworld which makes use of the writable memory on the 64DD by remembering when signs and grass are cut are all very likely things to have been part of Ura Zelda. The Unicorn Fountain as well is likely to have been a location in this second quest, a mysterious shrine featuring statues of unicorns and falling blue water like in the Chamber of Sages. It's also likely that the Ice Cavern was supposed to be an ice dungeon, fleshing out the Ice Cavern into a fully fledged, more difficult dungeon which would have resulted in Zora's domain thawing and therefore a proper conclusion to that storyline rather than it remaining under ice at the end of the game. As well as this, there are actually a few weird unexplained things left in Ocarina of Time's files which people believe are leftovers from Ura Zelda. There's a weird tunnel under Zora's domain that goes nowhere, which many people think would have led to the mysterious Unicorn Fountain, or NPC dialogue that refers to sky and wind temples. So could we get the unreleased Ocarina of Time expansion on the Nintendo 64 Mini? I mean, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. A lot of it is wishful thinking, me wanting to play the secret unreleased expansion to one of my all-time favourite games. But Nintendo have actually included previously unreleased games on classic systems, like Star Fox 2 releasing on the SNES Mini last year. Star Fox 2 was a fully completed sequel to the first game on the SNES, featuring for the first time in the series things like Star Wolf and the Walker, though it was never commercially released due to the Nintendo 64 being just around the corner at the time, and Nintendo wanting to release a Star Fox sequel on that system instead, which obviously became Star Fox 64. But since this game was completed, they threw it on the SNES Mini as a really awesome bonus game. Star Fox is popular and it's really exciting to play an unreleased Star Fox game, but Zelda's a whole other beast. People would literally kill each other for the chance to play an expansion to Ocarina of Time. It's easily one of, if not the, highest rated and most loved game of all time, and I can't imagine any way to sell the N64 Mini better than including an expansion to it. But on the other hand, there is the possibility that Ura Zelda and its elements would just Frankenstein into other games, and that the idea for different and harder dungeons on a second quest was realised with Master Quest, so as it is, there's no Ura Zelda to speak of worth releasing. However, Miyamoto has said that the expansion was completed, and even if some of its dungeons were reworked into different things or features for newer Zeldas, I'd still love to play it as it was intended to be released. I'm not sure if it's possible to get this expansion on the Nintendo 64 Classic because we just don't know enough about it. We don't know if it still exists in a playable state. So what do you guys think? Do you think we'll see Zelda Ura release on the Nintendo 64 Mini? Would you like it to? Let me know all your thoughts in the comments below. If you liked this video, leave a like and subscribe for more Zelda content. Cheers guys, and I'll see you next time.